Guys, I'm brand new to investing. I don't know anything and I don't even know where I should go to get the information I need to become a savvy investor. That's the exact journey I've been on for the last 9 months. And over that time, I have found some really useful resources that have helped me as a beginner to understand the markets better and to understand how to invest. So in this video, I'm going to talk you through how I'm using Trading 212, MarketWatch, and Investopedia. So the very first thing I realized as I embarked on my investing journey is that in order to start trading, I would need a trading platform. I did an extensive amount of research to try to establish which trading platform would suit me best as a beginner, and after much consideration and deliberation, I decided that for me, the best option would be Trading 212. So for today, what I'm going to show you is how I use Trading 212 as a beginner investor. This is not a tutorial. It is certainly not fully comprehensive, as there are many features that I don't utilize and don't have the expertise to talk about. However, it will give you an insight into some of the key things that you might want to look at for when selecting a beginner platform as you start your own journey. Okay, so the very first thing to note is that by choice, I prefer to use the mobile application. Trading 212 does offer the option to use the desktop, and I believe that there's a lot more detail and that is a lot more complex. However, for me, I want something that's simple, easy to understand, and convenient to use. And so for that reason, I'm using the mobile application. So to begin with, the very first thing we see when we open the app is the watch list section. And what the watch list section does is it allows you to add companies that you find interesting to this list so that they are very easy for you to access and to review on a regular basis. So in my watch list here, for example, I have Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Netflix, Alibaba, and Alphabet. If I wanted to add a new company to that, I can do that really easily, which I will show you. But before doing that, let's take a look at some of the other tabs across the top. So we have top winners, top losers, popular, US stocks, UK stocks, for example, new on Trading 212, ETFs, upcoming earnings, and innovation. So everything except for innovation was already pre-built on Trading 212. Again, for a beginner, it is really interesting to have these pre-built watch lists because it gives me an idea of what I should be looking out for, what I should be interested. For example, upcoming earnings. That may have inspired me to read a little bit more about upcoming earnings, when that happens, what that means for the market, and why do I care, essentially. I was actually able to create the innovation watch list myself. So I'm actually able to create watch lists that pertain to what I'm interested in. The next thing we want to look at is our portfolio itself. And so what you can see here is at the very top, you get a quick summary of your portfolio. So I can see the total value of my portfolio here is almost 24,000 euro. Within that, we see that I've actually invested 22,000 euro of my own money, and then I have a return of about 8.86%, or that they also translate that into a monetary value for me. So that's almost 2,000 euro. We also have a graph that allows me to understand how my portfolio has been performing over time. And then if we scroll down, we're able to look at each individual company and the investment that I've made in a little bit more detail. So what we can do here is let's take a look at one of these examples. So let's take NEO. What I'm able to do here on this page is see a lot of crucial information very, very quickly without too much complexity, which is what I really like. So the first thing I'm looking at here is the price. I can see that the current price right now is $34.88. And because I'm set on the 1 week tab here, we can see that this is actually down 8.02% over the last week. I can also look at this over the day, over the month, over 3 months, or over 1 year. You see when I move to 1 year, there's a broken line on the graph. The broken line represents the price that I bought in at, And so this indicates to me, because the green line is over and above my broken line, that I am in fact gaining. If I wanted to confirm that, all I have to do is scroll down and we can see here my investment information. So I have actually purchased just over 40 shares, and we can see that that is giving me a return of 15.59%. Again, then we see average price and sell price. Average price is the price that I bought in at. Sell price is the current market price. And I do have the option here to sell some of those shares. So I could select to sell either in value, or in number of shares. So I could say I want to sell 10 of my NEO shares. And I would see that that would actually be to the value of €286. Very similarly, I can also select to buy more, and you see the exact same page. So it's very, very simple. All I have to do is do that. Let's say I want to buy 5 more. Press done. Review the order. I can see exactly what I'm doing, exactly how much it's costing me to do this on Trading 212, which is free. And then I can press send by order. Within each stock, each company, there's a lot of details, both in relation to the company and then in relation to financials. And within this, there's actually the option to click in and get a lot more detail on everything. To be perfectly honest with you, I have not got to the point yet where I'm clicking in and understanding this in a lot of detail, because of the stage and the level that I'm at right now. History. This is actually showing us what we have been doing with this company since we started trading. And so you can see that I bought all of my shares on the 16th of October 2020 and spent €1,000. If I click in, I can see a little bit more detail on that. And if I had bought more or sold, all of that information would also be showing up in this history tab, which is really useful in terms of understanding, when you are making decisions and what kind of decisions you are making. The next tab over is the search tab. So if I click here just to clear this, we actually can see here that we have the option to search instruments or company names, so the ticker or the company name. But even if we're total beginners like I was and we don't know who we're even looking for, there's actually an option to browse a lot of companies that are listed on Trading 212. So they have actually automatically broken these out into most popular, dividend, growth, the level of volatility, and so on. And you also just have the option to browse all at the very bottom. For me, this again was a source of inspiration for me in terms of understanding what I should research and what I should educate myself on. So for example, when I started, I didn't know what a growth stock even was, but seeing this word here and seeing this name, it inspired me to do a little bit of research, to Google that and to understand more about it again, and to know why I should care. So even the search feature, I think, is quite comprehensive in terms of the information that it's providing to you as a beginner. And the very last tab I want to show you here is this social tab. So this is something that I actually haven't spent a huge amount of time on myself. There's basically the option to join different communities within the Trading 212 platform and to see how they're investing and what they're investing on. What I really use this for is to understand a little bit more detail about things. So I haven't joined any of these, I haven't made any comments, but like example, this pie here with the electric car sector, I can click into this, I can look at this and understand, here exactly which investments are in here to help me to understand, which players are in the electric car market, for example. And within that, I can click into each of those and get a little bit more detail on the company and understand why that's important. So even if you're not someone who wants to actually interact socially, I still find this social tab quite interesting and quite useful as a beginner. And so the next resource that I'm going to share with you, Market Watch, is for me a news app that allows me to understand what's happening at a high level and also to contextualize that into what's happening within the markets. Again, similarly to Trading 212, of course there is a website available for MarketWatch, but there's also a mobile app, and for me that was the more convenient way to access this information. So that is how I use it. So let me just open up the application here and show you exactly how I am using MarketWatch and why I think it's particularly useful for beginners like me. So as we open up, the first thing we can see is 3 little tabs along the bottom of the screen: articles, markets, and watch list. What I use MarketWatch for is exclusively for articles. Okay, so very quickly we can show you that we have the option to look at what's happening in the markets, and you have the option to create a watch list if you sign up and create a login, which I haven't even done because, as we just saw, I have my watch list already on Trading 212. So let's go back to articles. And what I really love here is the option to filter. So automatically when you open up, what you are getting is top stories. And so this is just the top stories that are happening over the last couple of hours and the last week. If we want to change that, we can have a look at some other options. So now we can see that there's an option to move to latest news. You can also view market data, which again, I kind of get from Trading 212, so I don't really use this as much. Most notably, you'll see at the very top, I have my notifications switched on. So that is something that's really important for me, because what actually happens for me is I get notified as the articles are being released, and that inspires me to take a look at them in the evening after I have finished work. So let's take a look, for example, within markets. So you can actually just click into markets as a whole, or you can do this drop down and you can look in a lot more detail in terms of US markets, Canadian, Europe, Middle East, Asia, emerging markets, and so on. For in the investing, this is really giving you a little bit more detail on stories that are relevant to investing. So for example, Jeff Bezos has sold off 6.7 billion in Amazon shares. Again, we see what's happening with Apple, we see what's happening with Uber. So you can see here there's a number of different pieces of information relevant to investing. Similarly, we're able to have a quick look at what articles barons are releasing and what information they're getting out into the marketplace. Again, really provides me with high-level information, which helps me to understand more about what's happening in the market in general, and also a little bit more detail on specifics. So that is how I'm using MarketWatch. Okay, so my third and final resource that I think is incredibly valuable to me as a beginner investor is Investopedia. And I am normally using Investopedia on the desktop. That's the reason why I am showing it to you in that same way. So it's probably become clear from my review of Trading 212 and of MarketWatch that as a beginner, a lot of things come up that I don't understand, and essentially I am always looking for ways to understand what's important, what's relevant, and why I should care about it. And really, that's what Investopedia is for me. So again, this is definitely not going to be fully comprehensive of what Investopedia can offer. However, the thing that interests me the most is this education tab. And so before I show you that, I want to show you one other thing that I use, which is this search bar here. So as an example, earlier on I mentioned that I didn't always know what a stop limit was. So I would see that and I would come here and search for what this actually means. And you can see within Investopedia, they actually have a number of different articles available to help me to understand what that is, as well as an actual definition. So that's the main way that I use Investopedia. It's also very useful for me to use the dictionary. So what they actually do is they have a term of the day, which allows you just to gain knowledge. There's also a whole dictionary where you can literally scroll. It sounds so nerdy, but I find this useful if I know I've been hearing a number of new terms coming up again and again and again, but I can't necessarily remember them at the time that I'm ready to do the research. So I can simply scroll down through here and see something that I've heard a few times, like for example, bull market. I've heard that a few times. What does that mean? And so I can click in here and get the explanation in quite a bit of detail, as well as usually a nice little video as well. So it depends on what format you prefer. Just to dip into the other educational pieces, so for example, there's a little bit of information around stocks, understanding, again, I mentioned earlier that I didn't always know what a growth stock was. We have value stocks, tech stocks, and so it just provides you with a lot of educational information to help you to advance your knowledge, which of course is going to help you to make better investment decisions and hopefully to make more money. So just a very brief introduction to Investopedia. It's simple enough that it's accessible to a beginner like me, but I think complex enough to provide you with really valuable information. Thanks so much for taking the time to review the key resources I'm using as a beginner investor. I hope that you got some value from this and learned something new. If you do have any resources that you're using and you happen to be watching this video, please feel free to share them with me, as I am always eager to learn and to find new tools and tips and tricks that can help me on this journey.